Hi everyone. I'm going to provide some information about testing, and if you have detailed questions, just feel free to email me. The two tests that we use here in the UNCP counseling programs are the CPCE, which is your comprehensive exam, and the NCE, which is your national counseling exam, and that is for clinical licensure. So some school students will take the NCE because they will be trying to get their licensed school counselor and licensed professional counselor, but all clinical counselors will take the NCE. The CPCE serves as a preparation test or a practice test for the NCE, and we also use it to ensure that students have all met the academic standards for the program. So all students, school and clinical, take the CPCE. All right. So my name is Nicole Stargel, and as I mentioned, you can email me at any time if you have any questions, specific questions. You know, we'll get to the end and there's going to be some things that might vary student by student. So the best way to contact me is through email. A second option would be through phone, and I'm not great at answering my phone. I'm much better at responding to emails, but you can, whatever way suits your preference, that's fine. So as I mentioned, the CPCE is our comprehensive exam, and we use that to demonstrate your competence. So every student in our program must pass the CPCE before they are allowed to begin internship. So every student takes it during practicum. Practicum is CNS 6100. If you're a clinical student, you can take practicum in fall, spring, or summer. If you're a school student, you can only take it during fall and spring because the schools are out for the summer. So during one of those 3 semesters, you will take the CPCE, and the CPCE is offered every semester, summer, spring, and fall. So if you happen to not pass the exam, you have to put your internship on hold. So you'll have completed practicum, you'll put internship on hold, and you'll take the comprehensive exam the following semester. And then, like I said before, the CPCE is also a practice test for the NCE, and many of you will choose to take that to pursue clinical licensure. And at this point, you're also given the choice to take the National Clinical Mental Health Counselors Exam, the NCMHCE, and that is best if you're interested in working with military because TRICARE recognizes it. Either one of those exams will lead you to full counseling licensure after 3,000 hours in the field. So what you do is you take your NCE, you get a provisional license, and then after 3,000 hours you get full licensure. It doesn't matter which exam you take. All right. As I mentioned, the CPCE must be taken during the semester of your practicum, CNS 6100. It can't be taken early. It has to be taken that semester. I always give the date in advance, and it's typically in the last third of the semester so that you have the majority of your core coursework finished. As I mentioned, you have to pass it before you move on to internship, which would be 6120 for clinical, 6130 for school counselors. The CPCE is offered every fall, spring, and summer, and you are able to take it 3 times before you are then not permitted to move forward. So you'll definitely want to try to pass it on your first time because it'll delay your graduation, but failing it 3 times would be very problematic. Okay, the cost is $50, so just start saving now. Expect to have a $50 cost during practicum, and you will bring that money as a certified check or a money order to the actual exam, and you will make it out to CCE. That's the publisher of the test. So when you come to take your CPCE, it's going to be on a Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You should probably try to get to the exam by about 8:15 or so, just so you can get settled in and get the check-in process taken care of. And then for the CPCE, you're going to take 160 questions, and 136 of them are scored. But you don't know which 24 questions are not scored. They're norming questions. They want to see how you guys do on them to give them to the next set of students as actual test questions. So you are kind of doing a service to the counseling field and future counselors, but some people before that have done that service for you. So you're taking questions that have been normed on a sample and been determined to be fair questions. So it'll take 160 questions in 4 hours. The time is probably not going to be an issue. If you do have any sort of special needs, if you have a documented disability, talk to me and we definitely take care of that. Otherwise, you sit, you got your 4 hours, and I'll explain to you how scoring works in the future. We also offer an early administration of the NCE or the NCMHCE, and you can choose either one to take. So basically, you can take the NCE once you graduate. And what's going to happen is you have to wait till your transcripts get processed, and then you take your exam, and then you wait for your scores, and then you submit all that material to the board and get your license. That process could take a few months. If you take the NCE before you graduate, you're able to sit for either one, the NCE or the NCMHCE, one time with us through the university before you graduate, but after you've passed your comps. And the fee is more. Instead of $195, it's closer to $330. But first of all, you get to take it before you graduate and right after your comps, so you're freshest on the material, and so your licensure shouldn't be held up by anything other than just waiting for your transcripts, provided that you pass the exam. But the second benefit is that you get a credential with it. It's a 5-year credential. You can renew it at the end of 5 years, and you're a national certified counselor. So typically, if you waited to take the NCE after graduation, you would have to do those 3,000 hours and get your full licensure before you're able to apply for the NCC credential. But if you take the NCE early through us, you get that credential automatically because we're a K-CREP program. So your CPCE scores, they take about 6 weeks to come back, and I email the scores individually to each of you. I create a report and I email you whether you passed or not. The NCE is completely taken care of by NBCC, which is our credentialing body, and it can take up to 3 months and they'll mail you the scores. So like I said, if you wait until after graduation, it's a little bit cheaper, but you don't get the NCC credential, and your license could potentially be held up for a few months. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But just so you can see an example of how the scores are calculated, this is a report. This is an example of reports that they'll give me. Every time that you guys test, it's a different mean and standard deviation. You can see that first circle is what the test form that you each have taken. So they send me this form, and it tells me the national statistics, so of every single student in the entire nation who took the CPCE as a comprehensive exam. Sometimes students take the exam just for fun or just as part of coursework, and it doesn't really have any implications, but we only use the statistics from programs who also use it as an exit exam. That is, you can't exit without passing it. And so they send us the mean, and that's why I told you I can't really tell you a passing score, but it's often right around 70. So you'll see here, it's 87 was the mean. We take a full standard deviation off of that, and then that one right there is about 70, roughly 70 is the passing score. So the passing score, it tends to be right around 70. It can be 68, 73, somewhere in that range, and the score, the passing score is based upon the difficulty of the test and how your peers did. And so that's basically out of the 136 questions that you complete. Your core material in 6100 will be CPCE Review. One of the best textbooks, the Rosenthal, is a required text, and that's the one I suggest for studying for the CPCE. The method I suggest is going through that book, and anytime you miss a question, look at the information and do a review of all of that information. So if they ask you about Freud and you mixed up the ego with the id, go back and relearn id, ego, superego, and Freud's psychosexual stages. And so then you've done a review. It showed you, that question itself showed you that you're weak in that area, and then it's your responsibility to go find supplemental material so that you have those concepts in your head. You can also choose to use the Erford, Hayes, Crockett, and Miller. That's another good one. And when I send out sheets, I send out information sheets every semester when these exams are being held, and there's a plethora of resources out there. These are just the two main ones that I suggest. Some CSI holds a workshop once a semester, and in the past Dr. Che has facilitated this, so you can attend a CSI workshop. It's a one-day workshop on Saturdays, and that could change, but that's how it's been in the past. And you could also form your own study groups, and if you were interested in study groups, contact the president of CSI, and I would think that she or he would be happy to help organize study groups. We've done it in the past. Okay, so you are automatically enrolled in the CPCE when you enter 6100. Like I said, it's mandatory that you take it. If you fail it, you'll be enrolled in the next testing semester. So basically, if you fail it in the spring, you'll be enrolled to take it again in the summer, and so on. The NCE, I will send out an invitation, and sign-ups typically occur up to 6 months before the exam happens. So I will send out an email, and I'll ask people to sign up and tell me if they want to take the NCE. Like I said, not everybody's going to. Some students will wait until after graduation. Some school counseling students won't even consider taking it. So I'll send it out an email, and you have to let me know. If you have CPCE scores pending, like say you took the exam October 18th, and that was just the scheduled CPCE exam, and it's October 31st, and I'm asking you to sign up for the NCE. If your scores are pending, just let me know. I would like to take the NCE pending a passing CPCE score, and I'll hold the roster and verify that. And like I said, it is the earlier the better to take your NCE. I would suggest taking it the semester, your first internship semester, directly after you take your CPCE. What you're able to do is the board meets only 4 times a year to process applications, and there's an application deadline that is actually even before graduation, and you can find this calendar. Just log on to the board, the North Carolina Board of Licensed Professional Counselors, go to their website, find their calendar, and you'll see when they're meeting. Before the meeting, a couple weeks before, is the deadline for all materials. You are able to send in your NCE scores, your pending final transcript in your last semester of schooling, and then all of your other supporting materials, your hours verification and stuff, and they will actually process your application, your license, pending your final transcripts being sent. So that's where I said, if you have a passing NCE score and you're able to turn that into the board, you could potentially get your license just a couple weeks after graduation. As soon as UNCP sends your conferred transcripts to the board, they'll send you your license, which was already pre-approved pending that final document. So the earlier you take the NCE, the better. Look at the board website calendar to see when your deadline is, and kind of line up and strategically plan your testing. All right. So that is pretty much the most important parts of the CPCE and the NCE. I don't deal with the praxis. So if you're a school counselor, the first floor has first floor of the education building. There's the CRC and testing information down there. So I just deal with the comprehensive exams and the clinical, the NCE. If you have any questions about any of those things, give me a call or send me an email. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. I hope that's helpful, and let me know if you have any other questions.